This is our last topic for the first unit called as approaches to international business. It's just a simple, quiet topic. So we have four different approaches to international business. The first one is called as ethnocentric approach. Second, polycentric approach. Third, regiocentric approach. And the fourth one, geocentric approach. Let's look at each one. The first one is ethnocentric. So, under this approach, the domestic companies view foreign markets as an extension to domestic markets. The domestic company continues the exports to foreign countries and views the foreign markets as an extension, just like a new region. So, under this approach, what it is trying to explain is that all the domestic companies, once it has established a good demand or a good market in the home country, okay, they look at export as if they're just moving into a next region, right? They're selling their products in a different region, but in reality, they are actually entering international business. That is, they're exporting their goods to another different economy. So they see exporting as disposing the surplus in the domestic market. So whatever has been surplus production, right? And after meeting the demands in the home country, the companies start exporting them to the other neighboring countries, right? For example, idli and dosa mix, vada mix are targeted to Indian population abroad. Now, of course, these products are plenty in supply and demand in our own country. Why are they being exported? They're exported as a surplus and they're targeting whom? They're targeting the Indian population in the neighboring countries. The second approach is called as polycentric approach. So this approach assumes each country is unique and therefore it allows particular subsidies to have more control in developing strategies that will work in a particular country. Now, since in the first stage you started exporting and now you want each, as a subsidy that you have established in the neighboring countries to be completely standardized, or I would say that these countries are different or unique in their marketing abilities, in their saving habits, investing habits, the taste and preferences of people. So each country is seen as different market. Okay, so when I establish a subsidy, right, or a branch of my company in another neighboring country, I allow the local people of that particular country or market to be the head of the subsidiary. Why? Because they know the taste and preferences of the local people better than me. Yes or no? So they know what kind of marketing strategies will attract the customers to purchase the product. So they leave the control to the subsidies in developing strategies. Since each country is unique, complete control should be given to the local managers. So instead of me going there and understanding the market and analyzing, studying, and then having a strategy is very much time consuming. But instead, if I'm going to appoint the local managers or the local people as a head of my subsidiary, then they can do a better job than me because they know what their people are like and what their choices or preferences are. So majorly, what do they focus? They focus on the local conditions, the laws given by their respective governments, and the culture that the people or the market have. Got it? So that's what the second approach talks about, polycentric approach. The third one is regiocentric approach. As the name itself says, regio or region. So it considers a group of countries as one particular region. Okay? When when these countries or these group of countries have a marketing strategy, okay, based on their market characteristics. So country A, B and C have similar market behavior, right? The taste and preferences, the saving habits, the pricing strategies, etc. Country A, B and C are quite similar. So under regiocentric approach, what do I categorize? This A, B, C not as individual market, but as one complete market or one region. Okay, so a particular region with certain important common marketing characteristics is regarded as single market. So when certain countries have similar characteristics, I do not categorize them into separate market but as one single market. How is it going to help me? It will help me in launching my product and also marketing my product and making sure the demand in the market is increased. Okay, so depending in the convergence of market behavior, that means how well the market behavior I'm adapted to, on the basis of geographical regions, a similar marketing strategy is used. Now we all know how challenging it is to market the product. If we can say one challenge is to identify the need of the market, study, analyze and produce. Next up challenge is marketing. Now why we are focusing on marketing here is because I am not the only company that is producing a particular product. There are so many other competitors in the market producing the similar product. So if I need to attract my customers or consumers in buying my company's product or my brand product, then my marketing strategy plays an important role. Correct? So therefore it is important for me to analyze how are these countries behaving in terms of market behavior, right? Accordingly I need to use my strategy of marketing, because no matter how good my product is, how quality oriented my product is, if I am not able to convey it to my customers or the market, my product will end up in loss, right? So greater importance in this approach is paid in terms of marketing strategy. Instead of making one strategy for one country, I have to make so many marketing strategies, isn't it? Which is time consuming and also resources consuming. But if I'm going to group them in a particular region, right, based on their market behavior, then a similar marketing strategy can be used. The last one we have geocentric approach. So under this approach, the company views the entire world as a single market. Now this comes as a last approach because I'm talking about geography, right? Geocentric means geography. That means the entire globe or the world is seen as one single market. Okay, so therefore right now it is establishing or trying to develop one standardized marketing mix. Okay, and it tries to have one uniform image or the brand image of the company and its products for the global market. So under this approach, company is not making different strategy for different regions or different countries. It is trying to analyze the whole world as one market, have common marketing strategy, have a uniform company image and also uniform products offered to the market. So this approach definitely provides an improved coordination and control, because I'm not focusing on one state or one country or two economies. I'm focusing on the entire world. So that requires a huge amount of coordination among the different subsidies, markets, government, laws, etc. So each subsidiary in each country will perform independent and autonomous company. Okay, they're not controlled, or everything is not controlled by the head office, but then the powers or control is given to each subsidiary. Okay, so that will help them in formulating policies, strategies, product design, marketing abilities, etc. Clear? So geocentric approach looks at the world as one single market and tries to achieve a standardized marketing mix, projecting a uniform image of company and its products. Definitely, this approach requires a higher amount of coordination and control, and each subsidiary acts as autonomous or independent company. Got it? So hope you have understood the last concept of this particular chapter, right? It is ethnocentric approach, second polycentric approach, third regiocentric approach, and the final one geocentric approach. So with this, we complete our first chapter, that is introduction to international business. So we have covered a lot of topics under this chapter. We discussed about the importance of international business, what is international business, theories of international trade, forms of international business, various merits and demerits, right? We also study about the modes of entry into international business, right? So with all these topics, today we're going to completing the first unit of international business. So from next class, we'll be beginning with second unit of international business.